Welcome to Therapy Unlocked, where we discuss all things therapy from an unlocked perspective. I'm Emily Huffman, and I'm here with Katrina.
Hello, Katrina Mondragon, licensed professional counselor. All right, so like I said, I am a professional, but not your professional, so nothing we're going to talk about today should be taken as medical, legal, or otherwise advice. This podcast is purely for education and amusement. That is it. That's the disclaimer.
Education, amusement, and because I would like to be famous. So please like, subscribe, follow, engage, hate on us, join the conversation, find us on YouTube, find us on Instagram, find us anywhere where you listen to podcasts, because I love a creeper and I love a hater and I love a lover. So if you like the podcast, if you dislike the podcast, I'd like to hear from you. All right. So let me tell you, I feel like some people they don't want to know you. They just want access to you.
Right?
What do you call that in the therapy world?
Oh, when they just want access to you, I guess that would be a poor boundary.
Poor boundary. Yeah. We're always circling back to boundaries on here, but I want to share some life lessons I've picked up the last, I don't know, year and a half or so. And let me tell you, I feel like we need to take back some of our agency in this social media easy access world. You don't owe anyone access to you. And whenever I encounter somebody who has an issue with their lack of access to me, I am befuddled. Because why are you mad about that? Why are you mad about not being able to access me? Especially speaking of this current day and time, if you might not agree with my opinions or like me very much as a person. So I thought today's pod, maybe we could talk just a little bit about what we need to do about that. What we need to do about these people that are emotional vampires, so to speak.
Oh, like energy vampires where they suck the emotional energy from you.
I happen to think that is kind of the motivation behind someone needing access to you, but maybe not being someone who likes you or wants to be around you. I think they want that. They are bored. They're bored and they're lacking in their lives, right? They want something. They want that energy to suck from the marrow of thy bones. So, I'm thinking we are unlocking the mind one conversation at a time. I can unlock the perspective of where we give that up. There's seeking validation, there's seeking connection, there's naivete. I've been very guilty of that in my life. There's people who see you as a resource and not a relationship. Those are all things, right? But what do we do about it?
I have an idea, because I don't know that if you do this, but I know a lot of people do this, where they feel responsible for other people's feelings. And so like relinquishing responsibility for how other people feel allow us to set that boundary and say, no, I'm allowed to be unavailable. You cannot speak to me privately. And I had to set a boundary like that the other day in a room full of 11 people. Somebody tried to have access to me privately, and I politely said no. I was pushed and had backup to say no, but it was that firmness and politeness, that consistency that allowed me to maintain that no.
That makes sense. Having backup can be so important. That's one thing that one can do. They can surround themselves with backup. That's solid advice just in and of itself. On more than one occasion, having somebody else around going, hey, are you sure they're your friend? Has turned out to be just great advice for me. If somebody says that to you, take that into consideration. I'm not saying believe them, but I'm saying that's time for analyzation, because it's turned out to be true for me a time or two again. Yeah. Being allowed to be unavailable, something we talked about right at the beginning of the podcast. And it's one of my favorite ones. I think I've left it at the top of our page most of the time, because you are allowed to be unavailable. But the world
has in time without notice.
At any point in time without notice, because you are your own person, you have agency. You have to reclaim that agency for yourself. If you want I guess you don't have to, or you could split yourself between the needs of several other people and not focus whatsoever on your own and possibly be a little miserable. But or who could not, you know.
There are some people who put out fires left and right, and they're constantly in crisis mode, like putting out this person's fire, that person's fire, their own fires. And there's just always a crisis in their life. There's never a chance to just chill because they don't say no.
I know you don't follow professional wrestling, but I do. I'm a fan of the WWE. I like to say the WWE is often doing God's work by giving some mental health advice to their viewers just for free, because it's basically a play. Okay, it's a beautiful drag brunch play performance of athleticism. Okay, I love it. But Jey Uso was the world champion. This is an easy story, easy crossover. He was the world champion. Okay, and there's many things going on in the WWE universe. There's many belts, many contests, many feuds, right? Gunther just took Jey Uso's championship. Killing me, right? But Gunther took Jey Uso's championship and he called it first because he said, you keep helping everyone else and you're not focusing on being a champion. Immediately before his match with Gunther, where he lost his belt, he helped Cody Rhodes, another wrestler. He helped Sami Zayn, another wrestler. He got his butt kicked resoundingly, repetitively. And he showed up to his championship match after only 56 days of being champion, which is a short-term run for someone as excellent as he is. 56 days of being champion, he was beaten, he was bruised, he had a broken rib, he was taped up, and he lost. And he lost his championship. I was heartbroken. I was sad because I'm a fan. But that's kind of the point. If you spend all of your time providing your mental, physical, everything energy somewhere else, Gunther, the heel that he is, the bad guy that he is, the guy that beat Jey Uso's ribs all the way up, he had a point, which was that if Jey had focused a little bit more on himself and not helping everyone else, he might have kept his championship.
Sometimes we have to put on our own oxygen mask. I know that's kind of an outdated reference nowadays because they say helping others does help ourselves. But at the end of the day, if we can't breathe in an airplane, they drop down those masks. If we can't breathe, we can't put on somebody else's oxygen mask.
I had someone say to me lately that they loved helping other people because it was what gave them what they needed to feel validated for themselves. And while that sounded really nice on the surface, the more I thought about it, the more it broke my heart. Because I really wished I could have given that person whatever it was they needed to know, that helping yourself is equally validating, if not more so. Helping yourself, as you said, allows you to help others, but also failure to help yourself impedes your ability to help others. I used to be able to help others all the time. Now I'm exhausted. I can barely help myself often. Okay. So it takes one to know one. Game recognizes game, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are helping everybody else, you're going to run out. You're going to run out of things in your cup to pour elsewhere. You know,
I think Brene Brown said you can't pour from an empty cup.
You cannot. You cannot pour from an empty cup. That's one of those things we go back to a lot, is that Brene Brown. Man, I love, love, love Brene Brown. Let me ask you, my licensed professional counselor, because I think you are just as witty and just as intelligent
and
as Brene
licensed mental
Brown.
health counselor now. I'm a licensed professional counselor.
And licensed mental health counselor. We have increased our credentials, ladies and gentlemen. Our professional opinion just got double professional, and your unqualified opinion is as unqualified as ever. That's it. I wanted to bring a little something up here, which is that a lot of what we're talking about is what can happen when we pour that whole cup out, right? And that's survival. You know, at the end of the day, that is surviving. And survival in and of itself wears out your autonomic nervous system. It wears out your endocrine system. It changes your circadian rhythms. It gives you excess cortisol. We talk about it all the time, right? You are not doing all that surviving, in my opinion, to be the piece in someone else's story, right? Why would you be outliving and outlasting, if we're just looking at this archetypically, to be the main event pushing someone else forward in their story? Like, I'm not saying people shouldn't help each other and shouldn't connect with each other, but to a certain extent, I'm just trying to encourage I don't necessarily even know the word for it, but a certain level of, you said boundaries earlier, and boundaries is one way to put it, but it's definitely one of those deep internal boundaries where you decide that other people's emotions are not going to influence you.
Yes. And I think that's part of emotional sobriety too, is having the ability to not turn to maladaptive behaviors, not turn to substances to numb, and be able to like have that feeling and be able to proceed mindfully, like respond rather than react.
Okay, I love that. So let's touch back on a couple of those things just to really lay them in for anybody who is still listening. I watch y'all. I know you don't make it far past that 5 minute mark, but I love you. That said, emotional sobriety. I'm going to clip this to point it out to people. I've never heard this term. Emotional sobriety helps to keep us from maladaptive behaviors.
Yeah, it's basically just managing and coping with our emotions without resorting to that stinking thinking.
Stinking thinking. I hate stinking thinking. Let me tell you, stinking thinking doesn't do it for me. No. That low down stinking thinking, man, I stink and think all day long, honestly. I'm a stinking overthinker, is what I am. No, emotional sobriety, preventing maladaptive behaviors. I love that. I love that as a general idea. And that I think is probably exactly what keeps you from becoming the side character in someone else's story. No one cast you as the sassy best friend. You have not had a front row seat to your entire life just to be hanging out on the side. I see your special guest there. Hi, Lucky.
Hi, Lucky. Yes, Lucky says
Lucky's
hello.
my dog, but he's visiting his
Yes.
auntie right now. I love talking a little bit of everything on here. I have a tagline I thought of for this particular conversation, and I just want to share. And that is that you are not intimidating. You are sacred. You need to protect your peace like it costs. Because it does.
Have you ever heard that quote where it says, I am not intimidating, you are intimidated. There's a difference, or something to that effect?
I love that one. You know what else I love? I was not wrong because I raised my voice. I'm not telling anyone to yell at anyone else. That's not what I'm saying. I am not excusing someone having a big screaming fit, but I am saying that oftentimes people raising their voice are raising their voice because they're right, because they have a strong opinion and a big feeling. Their perception is their reality. Even if they're not factually right, they're right. They're right in the fact that they have a big, huge feeling. So people need to stop judging intimidating women with loud voices because loud voices are purely and simply only loud voices. That's it.
Sometimes we speak loud enough so that everyone in the room can hear us.
Sometimes we speak even louder because everyone in the room can hear us, but they aren't paying attention. And that's right. I am so tired of titrating myself for the convenience of others when it comes to the volume of my voice, the appearance of my clothing, the general attitude and demeanor of my crazy hair or my wild beliefs. It is 2025. Look around. We are all very bizarre. Okay. We spent all this time at home finding ourselves, and now we have been found, and we out here. We out here doing our stuff. I won't be doing it anymore. I won't. I will be attempting this emotional sobriety of which you speak that I just learned of today. But I do love a last minute decision, especially one that sounds so very appealing. How do you start emotional sobriety?
Pausing, I would say. Because if we can pause and be okay with that moment of silence, pause and be okay with that moment to think, pause and be okay with that just pause, the way you would pause a video game and just freeze for a moment, then you have time to take a step back, observe what's going on in and around you, and then you can proceed mindfully, which I know we've talked about before as far as proceeding the way that you prefer to behave rather than like, because what's most effective is not necessarily what's most comfortable.
I love that. I'm going to repeat that one too. What's most effective is not always what's most comfortable. I like doing that because repetition is what helps people remember things, and people need to learn that. They need to learn to get uncomfortable. They need to learn to get comfortable with the cringe. You know what the best part of being a personality hire on a podcast is? Hot takes. I'm going to tell people what to do. You know why? Because she's a professional. I'm
Obstacle is the
not.
way. I have that book, The Obstacle is the Way.
The obstacle is the way. Is that telling people what to do? Is the book about, is that our book rec for the day? Because
Oh, I
I
think
could
I've
go for a
referenced
book
this
rec.
one before, but I'll do it again. It's Ryan Holiday. You want to pick a page?
I love to pick a page. All right, how many pages have we got?
About 201.
201. Give me 111 and make a wish.
Right, 111 is going to say, so instead of fighting obstacles, find a means of making them defeat themselves. There's a famous story of Alexander the Great doing just that. And it was Alexander's masterful use of an obstacle against itself that gave observers their first hint that the ambitious teenager might one day conquer the world. As a young man, he trained his famous horse Bucephalus, the horse that even his father, King Philip II of Macedon, could not break, by tiring him out. While others had tried sheer force and whips and ropes only to be bucked off, Alexander succeeded by lightly mounting and simply hanging on until the horse was calm. Having exhausted himself, Bucephalus had no choice but to submit to his rider's influence. Alexander would ride him into battle on this faithful horse for the next 20 years. Now, what of your obstacles? Yes, sometimes we need to learn from Amelia Earhart and just take action, but also we have to be ready to see that restraint might be the best action for us to take. So sometimes in your life, you need to have patience, wait for temporary obstacles to fizzle out, let two jousting egos sort themselves out instead of jumping immediately into the fray, and sometimes a problem needs less of you, fewer people, period, and not more. So that's on 111 of The Obstacle is the Way. Speaking of giving people access to you, maybe they don't need so much access.
Incredible. That was one of our best connected passages to date. I love the book game, but man, did that lock in on the conversation. That was such a good
Right?
one and complete spontaneity. I love it. Y'all, anybody who didn't make it this far in the podcast, you missing out, okay? If you're not listening right now, you trash because you missed the hottest information just now.
Maybe they
Anybody
just
who
went
is
out
still
to touch
listening,
grass.
get out. I'm outside. I could touch the grass, but then I'd have to reach over there. My finger might get dirty. We don't
No,
need to.
I'm saying if they're not listening anymore, maybe they went to touch some grass.
Maybe they would touch the grass. You know what? I support that. I support them going out and touching the grass. I just wish that they would hang out, listen to all of our hot takes because they're cool. And also, I want to be famous. We go over this every time. I just trying to be famous. Uh, Whatever. I just feel like fame would be the place for me. It'd be the job for me. I could put so many more obstacles in the way if I were famous, like big burly ones that said, "No, you can't speak to Miss Huffman today." That would be cool. That would be fun. You know, it'd be cool and fun. There's free bodyguards. No, I absolutely love that book recommendation. We're definitely going to put that down below for anybody who's interested. And I loved just in general the things they had to say on there. Getting the obstacle in the way is absolutely how you prevent those people who just want access and not to reach you as a person. People who want that research, not that connection and that love. You are deserving of love. I think so many people are unaware that they deserve better. I can't imagine how many Google searches and YouTube searches, because I check our analytics, are for avoidant attachment and anxious attachment. Well, let me tell you right now, you didn't deserve that. Either one.
And nothing
Deserve
has to
better.
be done to earn love, in my opinion. No, nobody has to earn anything
The right
in
person will
terms of
be so
love.
obsessed with your lore they can't get enough of you. The right person will want to know your story. They will want to do the things you want to do. They will enjoy the things that you enjoy. You know, I truly believe that. I wish that I could. I don't know that I can date again until every child that I have has reached legal age. But that said, I truly believe that the right person is going to do for you the witnessing of your life that love truly is. I feel like that is the truest of love stories. It's just people witnessing each other's lives and supporting each other and not involving the government in their relationships. Guys, divorce is expensive. On that note,
Wait,
on that note,
I have one more. Have I ever told you the
yeah,
difference between a H relationship and an A relationship? So it's
go.
like a codependent relationship is like I need you, and it's like they're an A, they're intertwined, they're so intertwined that they could die without each other. And then an H relationship is where you have two separate lives that come together and they are shared, and that H relationship is so much healthier than the A relationship.
But the A relationship sounds like something a vampire might do because he was so very in love with me. He was going to turn me immortal and stay with me forever and ever. And he has sparkly skin and his name is Edward. And he bought me mushroom ravioli. I don't even like mushrooms, but I don't care because it's part of the bit and I'm dedicated. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
That was just a little side note of delusion for you guys, that final girl energy. Um, those of you tuning in, I know that my Final Girl Energy fans are making it to the end of the podcast. And since you guys are here, you better engage in the comments. Get down there and say something about your mental health. I need it. I need the promo. I need the engagement. Look at this professional woman. She worked hard for this career. I'm just here to yap.
I can scooch over. You can see my license. There's my Massachusetts license right there.
Massachusetts and Oklahoma, double credentialed because she's a double baddie. All right, let me tell you, just my final thought for today, and final thoughts are what I do. And we'll get into that next time on Therapy Unlocked. We will discuss a little bit some new branding and some new developments in the Unlocked universe. But my final thought is that if they love the version of you that didn't take up space, they are gone. Keep that in mind, friends and family. That's what I want you to know. I want you to know. I like that obstacle in the way. You be the obstacle in the way. Don't let people get access to you. They only want access. If they love the version of you that doesn't take up space, they are gone. Get rid of them. That's my hot take.
I'll quote Dr. Seuss too. I've probably said this a million times before, but he says that those who matter don't mind and those who mind don't matter. So if they have a problem with your boundaries, with your unavailability, that's their problem. They don't matter.
That's a them problem. Oh, do I love to say that is a them problem? It is not a you problem. Do not accept responsibility for other people's problems. You've made enough of your own. That's a thank you for joining us today on Therapy Unlocked. This was a fantastic conversation. I honestly think we should long form this because it flowed so beautifully. And I feel like our fans deserve to hear more unlocking of the mind, whether they make it all the way through or not. But final fans, I'm looking at you. Get in those comments. That said, Katrina, any other final thoughts? Because I think we're good for the day.
No, I think people's laundry is folded and we're good to go.
Haha. All right, guys. I want you to please follow us on Instagram and YouTube. We are delivering hot and fresh Therapy Unlocked every single week. Check our pages on Fridays. We love to put that information out there. If you are looking for a new licensed professional counselor in Oklahoma or Massachusetts, you
Virtual
can find
only.
Katrina Dragon at her website, and she is phenomenal. She does telehealth. She does in-office visits here in Oklahoma. You can find her on Facebook. You can find her online. Quick Google away for Miss Katrina. We appreciate you stopping by, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Therapy Unlocked.
Later.